was a very insightful presentation by the students of SOIL. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this interesting session with an equally interesting topic. When I was approached by Neetika and when she offered me this role, I immediately jumped at it. And my joy was like that of a kid who sees a candy shop with a notice board put outside, everything is free. Or that of my students when I tell them that the end term exam is next week, and when I tell them that it's an open book examination. When I looked at the topic and when I deliberated about the topic, two things came to my mind. I went back down the memory about 17, 18 years ago when I was a student, like most of the students sitting in this room. And then I read about two interesting companies, or rather three interesting companies. The first one is a company which still exists, which is called as Toms of Maine. Why Toms of Maine caught my attention was Toms of Maine has been set up by a person by name Tom. And he said he will do any product as long as it is not tested on animals, it does not cause damage to the environment, and it has no artificial ingredients. Last October, I was in the US and then had an opportunity to stay over at a friend's house. And when I went into the bathroom the next morning, I found Toms of Maine products. That was after 17 years, that was my interaction with that company again. And in the context of this topic, I went down and did a little bit of a research on the company. I'm glad to inform you that the company still exists. It is a partial subsidiary of Colgate-Palmolive. Colgate-Palmolive acquired it for $100 million, and the promoters kept 20% with them just to ensure that Colgate does not go and renege on their promises. Closer to the home, the second company that I would like to introduce to you is Alacrity Builders. When I was doing my MBA at Satyasai University way back in the year 1997, we were exposed to this particular company, and the key aspect of this company is they are in the field of construction, and they told all the people who bought apartments from them, said, we will construct these houses without paying even a single rupee as a bribe. Is it possible in Indian context? Not possible. Did they get buyers? Surprise of surprises, they got buyers. The buyer said, yes, we are behind you. Go ahead and construct those homes. No matter if it takes 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, we will be behind you, and you go ahead and advance this particular good cause. That company still exists. Then the third one, when I had worked with this iconic group, the Tata Group, most of you know about this particular company. We were told an interesting story. The story was that of J.N. Tata. They got a chief engineer from UK, and this chief engineer had a meeting with J.N. Tata, and the engineer prepared about everything in the field of engineering, and then he went prepared anticipating questions from Mr. J.N. Tata saying what technology you will use, what will happen to technology obsolescence, what will happen to my furnace and stuff like that. He crammed his brain with all this stuff, and then J.N. Tata meets him and he tells, yes, what can I do for you? Then he says, sir, can you give me some advice about this iconic steel plant that we're going to build? So J.N. Tata says, okay, build wide roads, plant a lot of trees. And then he stops. So this person is completely confused. And he asks, sir, I have come to ask you for an advice. He says, I've already given it to you. So what is important in terms of, so what I'm trying to summarize, what I'm trying to tell you is good values are eternal. And good values seem to lead to a sustainable competitive differentiation. So from that perspective, with this background, let's see what fellow panelists have to say. Before I invite them, I just wanted to say two more lines. In terms of everyone understands goodness in a general context, but goodness in a corporate context is an abstract subject still. So what is goodness in a corporate context? How do one institutionalize? Is it individual goodness that is important, or is it institutional goodness that is important? Is it a top-down approach, or is it a bottom-up approach? So, so without spending much time on this, I invite the first member today, Dhuddu, who is joining us over Skype. I know it's a little late for you, Dhuddu, so thanks for taking this time out to spend with us. Over to you now. Are you able to hear us? If you're able to hear us, please raise your hand.
I can hear you.
Oh, we can hear you. Okay, thank you.
Hello?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Hello, I'm so sorry that we had some audio difficulty. So I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I feel like I wish I was there in person, or at least that I could see the voices that I'm hearing, because it sounds so inspirational. As a bit of context, I've been asked to just share for about 10 minutes, and I'm feeling just a lot of gratitude just to have the opportunity, considering that I'm sharing with you today from San Francisco, where it's about 10 p.m., and it is wonderful to have these kinds of conversations all over the world. I just wanted to start by sharing a little bit of context of where I'm coming from, and the question that Rajesh asked in terms of this top-down versus bottom-up. My own experience and experimentation has been from both the top-down and the bottom-up. My background is in this field called impact investing. And I'm curious how many of you in the audience have heard of that phrase. Perhaps a show of hands, and somebody can tell me what percent it is. Okay. So how many have heard the phrase social enterprise by hands? Okay, so as a bit of context, social enterprise is this idea of being an entrepreneur primarily for the purpose of doing good in the world, not just making money, or in some cases money is secondary or third on priority. And this field of impact investing is the people who provide the money to the social entrepreneurs, so the finance people. My experience is playing that role. I've been a finance person to help those entrepreneurs who are doing these kinds of socially beneficial works. However, in the last several years, one of the things that I found is that this definition of doing good, it's a very deep definition. So for instance, we would go and work in Africa, and we would find businesses that would be planting a lot of food into the soil to get lots more food available to work on hunger issues. So that sounds really good, and everybody congratulates themselves because they're doing great things. Except in order to get that extra food, they are planting lots of fertilizer in the ground. And so every year, the soil, the literal soil, is becoming less and less. So that if we go 50 years into the future, we run out of soil. But nobody is asking this question. They're happy today for doing this good work. And so that got me thinking and saying, well, we're not questioning anything fundamental here. We are just taking this superficial, surface level definition of good and then applying it. And I was wondering why that is. What is it that we are missing? What is it that allows a person to see that if I destroy the soil, I am destroying myself as time goes on? And for that, my own experience led me to feel that it's really our hearts. When our hearts are awakened and we start to feel connected, connected with each other, connected with the earth, then we start thinking differently. And so I started experimenting. Within my investment organization, we came up with this idea. We called it the 21-day challenge. So every day for 21 days, there would be some email idea sent out to everybody in the company. And the idea would be 21-day kindness challenge. So every day, a new idea of kindness. One example would be you should compliment your coworker. Another idea would be you should give away something that is very important to you. So very small things, things that take 2 to 5 minutes a day to do, but they might not be easy because we're not used to thinking that way. And so the kinds of things that I've started to do are this mixture between social enterprise, impact investing, but also this heart-oriented work. And I started to find that the companies that we would share this with would have all kinds of very interesting stories start to happen. So I thought I would share just a couple and then turn it back over to Rajesh. So one example, I was working with a company that is selling organic food. They find the farmers that are growing organic food, and then they deliver it to customers. And they started doing this 21-day kindness challenge. And on day 15, the gentleman who is the CEO of that company, he said, I really want to have a different relationship with my customers. I don't just want to sell to them, but I want to build a relationship. And so he went up to this new customer. He drove by a car, and he started to discuss with her. She was a first-time customer. And because of that 45 seconds of talking, he found out that this woman has stage 3 cancer. And for her, these vegetables that she was buying was to work on how to cure her cancer. And this CEO was so moved by what was happening. He said, today my act of kindness is going to be to just gift you these vegetables. The vegetables cost $75 a box, but he decided that he would just give it. And when he did that, the woman started crying. She said, I don't understand how a business can do this. A business is about profit. And he said, but I want my business to be one where compassion, where love comes first. And he told me that when he got back in his car to go home, he had never felt better in his life leaving a customer. So that was a good story. But then when he got home, he checked his email, and he saw that that same customer had written him a note. And in the note, she said, look, I don't know how much longer I'm going to live because I have cancer. But you should know that every week from now until the day I die, I will order $75 vegetable crate from you. You have my business. And he started crying when he told me this. And I realized that this is the sort of heart-oriented projects that are most important, that we need to start taking on in society. We've tried this in banks, we've tried this in various businesses, and have seen the kinds of things that are happening inside. Science has validated. Now there seems to be more and more scientific studies asking what happens when a person starts doing these small activities, 2 to 5 minutes. They're not changing the world, but they're changing their neurology. The way that they think starts to change. I'm noticing this in myself. And this is, to some extent, what I would imagine that Gandhi was saying when he said, you must be the change you wish to see. This idea of saying, well, if I change my own thought process, I can change the way that my neurology works. And every thought I have now starts to change. And what that can lead to in terms of a ripple effect can be amazing. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share and happy to turn it back over. Thank you.
Thanks, Dhuddu. Just confirming if you are able to hear us.
I am.
Okay, thank you. That was very promising and insightful. I have one question for you though. So when you see this change, which one would probably classify as the transformation of the heart as well as the transformation of mind, do you see that change? Is it confined to a particular segment? Is it sporadic or is it across the segment? What has been your experience?
And to make sure I understand the question, when you refer to segments, are you referring to different industries?
That's correct. Different. Is such changes limited only to a particular segment or an industry, or do you see that happening across the board?
So I appreciate the question. I can only offer you my own experience, which is that so far we have been experimenting with these approaches in a variety of industries. The one that I've been the most intrigued by is in finance, where the people seem to be more associated with thinking about the bottom line first. So one of the companies that we worked with is a very large Swiss bank. And with them, we decided to do a 21-day gratitude challenge. That means every day for 21 days, everybody in the bank was asked to take on small activities. For instance, to write down in the day 3 things that they're grateful for, or to call up somebody in their life that they feel grateful towards and share that gratitude with them. All of these things start to shift their neurology, and they start talking about it with each other in the office. 21 days of this continued. And you would think at the end, oh, this is nice, but it's not going to change the world. Except in the next strategy meeting for this bank, they said, you know, we feel so good. We feel so grateful that we have what we have, and we should really think about giving a little bit more. And so one thing they decided to do was they decided to create a new fund. It's a $50 million fund that focuses on social enterprise and businesses that are doing good in the world. That's $50 million that goes to CEOs that are trying to make the world a better place. And the reason it happened is because of 21 days of writing down gratitude. I'm grateful for X, I'm grateful for Y.